Hello, everybody, and welcome to Woo Inspired Session with Dear James. I am so excited to have you guys here. Say hello. Let us know who is hanging out with us today. This is our premiere episode, and we couldn't be more thrilled to have this wonderful man as our guest, who I will introduce to you in just a second. For this moment, I'm just going to let him hang out and feel awkward while I talk. So if you do not know what the Wellness Universe is, we are an online community and platform of world changers, thought leaders, wellness practitioners, anybody who is using their life to positively influence and change the world. And we started this series simply to be able to put a spotlight on our world changers. They're doing amazing work, and we want to make sure that you know who they are. So without further ado, we got Patty, we got Diana, we got Anna. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So cool, so cool. So let me introduce Mr. DearJames. DearJames is an intuitive advice columnist. He is a radio host. He's an author. He's a consultant. I'm going to let him really introduce himself because I am beyond intrigued to share him with you, and I have a million questions for him myself. But what he does provide is intuitive insight and advice and answers to life's questions. Welcome, DearJames. How are you?
I'm great, Sherry. Thank you so much for having me today.
It is so exciting to have you here because one of the things that people may not know is that James hosted Anna and I right at the launch of the Wellness Universe in January of 2015. And it was literally a week after we launched. And the one thing that you did for us, we were so in the launch. It was the first time, it was the first iteration of the Wellness Universe. And you really made us feel like what we were doing was epic. And you actually did say that one day we will look back at this moment and it's going to be a moment in history for the Wellness Universe. And it truly just brought what we had done together and brought it out for us so much. So thank you for that.
No, it was my honor and privilege, truly. And what the two of you are doing, you and Anna, and all of the woopreneurs, here's an opportunity for the world of wellness to be showcased and to share that. And so I'm just honored to be a part of it and to be amongst such great people that are doing great work. So it takes a village, as they say.
Yes, it does. And you are part of that village.
Yeah.
And I want to dive into you, which sounds like strange, but weird. So we're just going to leave that alone. But so tell me a little bit about what it is that you do so everybody understands, because I know that you have an advice column with us that you just launched that in this May. And I read about you and it says you're a clairvoyant. So just explain to us what that really means.
Well, to give you a little bit of a backdrop, I came to understanding this gift about 20 years ago. And I went to a one-day workshop as a volunteer. And we came back after the session break, and the moderator said, "Okay, James, will you sit with this lady and for this next exercise?" And I said, "Sure, okay." And she's sitting in the row in front of me, and he said, "We're going to do a light meditation, and then I just want you to receive what you get about the other person." And he said, and the one thing he said was, "Don't judge it." And I said, "Okay." So we do the light meditation, and all of a sudden this movie starts playing, in my head, and it's the whole sound, smell, taste, everything. And of this woman who I've never met. And instantly I think, oh, she's going to think I'm crazy. And then I heard this loud, "Don't judge it." I'm like, okay. So I let the movie play. Long story short, they come back, we finish this session, or, this meditation piece, and he says, "Okay, now exchange." And she says, "You go first." And I'm like, oh, God, okay. You're nervous, and you're like, oh. And so I start telling her, I see you on a ranch or a farm. You've got nut trees, acorns, and so forth. You sit on a front porch. You guys are there a lot in the evenings. There's a horse. It's albino. It's showing me its teeth. It bites you. All these things. And I got to the point where I said, your marriage is very tumultuous. And this woman sitting next to her spun around and she said, "Well, that's a good way to describe her marriage." And I kind of sat back and I went, "Ooh." And she goes, oh, this is my mother. I go, hello. And, and so I said, okay. And I got really nervous and I said, okay, I finished. And she basically then recited back to me everything that I had just said to her. So that was the opening, or the awareness of this gift of being able to intuit other people's lives that I've never met and deliver messages, whether that be from spirit, from, and it's much more, for me, it's much more about the soul. It's not, and no disrespect to anything, it's not dime store psychic stuff. It's really about how to move them forward of the soul. What's going on in your life? What are the roadblocks, the pieces that are immobilizing you, and how to move forward? And so I do that in private consultations. I do that through the advice column where people write in and I just answer their questions. I do it on the radio show, a myriad of group events, things like that.
This happened 20 years ago, like where you really opened up to it. Can you actually look back though at your childhood and see kind of where it was like peeking its head out and you just didn't perhaps understand it? Or was it literally at that moment, you think?
No, it was literally at that moment. And I hit it, I used it, literally it was like a switch, like a light switch went on. And it was at that point that I went, oh, whoa, and then from that point on, it was there and I could turn it on and off.
Okay.
And I would quietly and privately with friends and, to help people. And I continued kind of doing my own life, if you will. And then in 2011, leading up to 2011, I had my own clairvoyant, if you will, that I had worked with. And she kept saying to me, you have to show up. And I knew what she meant. She was meaning you have to be this. This is what you're going to do. And I kept kind of, no. No.
Not for me. Was it scary? Was it a scary thing to actually feel like this is something that you have to embrace?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it comes with great responsibility. This is people's lives and the subjects and the subject matters and the care at which they come to you. And sometimes the information that comes in that, here I am, somebody that doesn't know you, and I'm going to tell you things. And so there's great care, great responsibility and care that goes with that. And of course, I think the industry as a whole, if you want to call it the industry, the realm, the section of psychic, intuitive, clairvoyant, there are great people of great talent and great reputation and character. And there's also the charlatans. And so that plays a role in, and when you're dealing with something that is intangible, meaning the proof is in the pudding, the proof is in our exchange, our interaction of something. So it takes on a level of responsibility. And so that made it, to do it, I had to own it. I had to truly do it.
Right. There's no halfway about that. I'm going to tell you a little bit about your marriage, but I'm just going to leave it right there. Right. Without walking away. Yeah, I totally get that. So this has always intrigued me. How do you receive your intuition? Is it through images? Is it feelings? Is it a voice? I just kind of want to understand. And I'm sure people have questions too about that.
Well, typically, so someone will schedule a consultation or they write in on the advice column and so forth. And I do what I call download with the universe. So I will sit down or if I'm doing a group session, and I will sit down and say, okay, give me just the first names of the participants at the group session, or I look at just the information that I have of the name of the person that's being referred to me. And I just sit down with a blank sheet of paper or cue cards and I say they is the universe, the symphony, and then you can see me using my right hand. They come in from the right side, and I will sit there and listen and download, and I just start writing everything down. In a sense, I'm a vessel, I'm a messenger. And so I let it come in, and it can be everything from a statement, sound, sight, a picture, a smell, a feeling. It all just comes in and I just start writing them down. They'll tell me which way to turn the paper, which way to write things. And And what's always so funny about it, and I've learned over the course of time to trust it so much, is that there's always a reason. There's a point to the whole thing. It's a tapestry. And so I just am connecting the dots. And then when I actually meet with you to do your session, I just kind of start with, okay, here's item number 1, and here's where we're going. And by the time I get to 2 or 3, I kind of stop and say, so is this resonating with you? And they're usually kind of like, How
do you know these things?
Yeah, they're like, keep going.
Wow. So Deborah's watching right now, and Deborah says James is Deborah Wilson. She said James is incredibly gifted, and I'm blessed to know him and call him my friend. Yeah, it's beautiful. Go ahead. You can say hi to Deborah.
Hi, Deborah, and Debbie is a dear friend, and actually we met as a client. She called in on the radio show, and subsequently we did personal readings and everything, and we have, over the course of years, become friends.
Interesting. It's amazing. I have so many questions that I want to ask you, and we have a question from Anna, actually, who's saying, is it always with pen or paper, or can you type on the computer? Is it always the physical writing part of it?
It's interesting. I do it both ways. Well, when I do readings, when I do consultations and readings, I do it with the physical pen and paper, because there's something about that connectivity, that conduit. It's visceral. It comes in this way. If I am sitting in meditation and doing something, I will sometimes do it and I'll type. And the funny thing is there are certain times where they'll use words that I don't actually know. I mean, you know the essence, you understand the meaning and everything, but I haven't used that word, and I'll literally stop and I'll go and look in the dictionary and I'll be like, well, I'll be damned. That's exactly what I thought it was. Yet they're using words, so it's really quite extraordinary, because they connect the dots. They really do bring all the information through. So you get the feeling. I always know the feeling of what they're saying. And loved ones come through. So there's times that it's loved ones that come through, or particular personalities, and they make themselves very prominent and known, their energy and so forth. Or it's the symphony, as I call it. It's kind of the totality.
That's so interesting. So it's a whole array. It could be a person. It could just be the information. It could come through as anything, really.
Exactly, because I look at the universe and the whole of everything, the totality of everything, as a symphony. And sometimes is it the horn section? Is it the string section? Is it a solo? And so if they want themselves to be known, they tell me. I mean, they come forward very strongly, and they give me their personality, and I start describing their energy, and that usually connects with someone. Wow. And it comes that way, or it's just in generality.
I love what you said, because you mentioned being a conduit, and I actually read that on your site, because what I love about the gift that you've been given is that you see it as a gift, and you just see yourself as the messenger, that it just comes through. That you're humble about that, and that you're just doing your job, in a sense.
I show up, and I would say to everyone listening, every single one of us has this gift, this capability. It's innate to us as humans. It's what we call our gut instinct. It's to what degree the gift or the line is clear, the channel is clear. But for me, it's always from a place of humility and care and respect, because it's not me, James. I mean, they see my name on the screen right now. That's me, the person. But Dear James is the intuitive. And so James Wecker steps aside, and Dear James comes as the intuitive and receives the information. It's not me. It's not. So it's very much coming from on high, coming from a place that we know exists, but yet we can't, quote unquote, see.
Right.
And yet we see its miracles, we see its gifts, we see its blessings. And that's how I look at it, that's my job, to show up and do that.
Well, you're definitely inspiring people. Ashley said she just got goosebumps. Jenny says that's beautiful and you're such a gift to us all. And I genuinely believe that one of the things that I love about the Wellness Universe and really you is the people that are given something and then honor that calling within. And you've done that and you do it for good and you provide it and you show up every day, even with that great responsibility that comes with that. So first I want to acknowledge you for doing that and say thank you on behalf of all of us.
Thank you very, very much.
And then I have a couple of questions that I want to know, and I'm going to make these, I know, because they're big questions. That's why I go, I'm prefacing them because I really want to get to know this about our future guests on Woo Inspired Session. And the first thing I want to know is, in your life, when you leave this plane, what legacy do you want to leave for people here? I know it's a big question.
I hope that the legacy that I leave is that people remember or see or embrace their divinity. That it's not about the 3D. It's not about the daily grind. It's not about the arguments and the he says and she says and all of these things that are static, that get in the way. It's about us remembering our divinity. It's about us remembering our light, our goodness. And when that ripples out, and so the whole point for me of Dear James, I don't need to hear myself talk. I don't, if the phone's not ringing on the radio show, I don't want to do it. Because it's about helping people. It's about helping them. Each time you peel the layer back, the onion back, you get to the pearl. And that's really what this is for me is, so I hope the legacy is that it's lighter. The world is lighter. It's more effervescent. It's more filled with joy. People are they've kind of thrown off the shackles of fear and they're doing what they love to do. And they've taken that chance and they've kind of thrown caution to the wind, and because that's what we're here for. It's supposed to be heaven on earth. So yeah, let's do
it. Let's create that.
How
right.
long would that be? Right? I mean, your smile is so infectious, Sherry. It's like and it's like, so if that was going on 24/7.
Oh God.
And that could be rippled out.
Right.
And yet there's more. You know what I mean? Like
yes.
When you smile from the inside out, oh my God, that's just such a great feeling. So that's the legacy of Dear James.
Well, you're doing that. And if what you do every day in your life is what you've done with us over this last, 15, 20 minutes, I just thank you again, because I know that you've brought sparkle to all of our lives. There's literally like so many amens and oh wows. So you're leaving your legacy right now, even though you're still here. So I'm not wishing you anywhere. Yeah, you got some time. And I'm not an intuitive to even know that, although you said we all are. So tell people where they can find you. What are you doing? I know you have our monthly blog now, our column.
Yeah. I'm submitting, so you can always go to DearJames.com, and there's you can click on Ask, and you can submit a question there. I'm currently on hiatus on the radio show. However, I'm going to be bringing that back. So. And it's always a live call-in show where people call in live and I answer their questions much like we're doing right now, except from an intuitive place of answering their life questions. And then I'm launching something called Dear James Dailies. So there's going to be you'll sign up as a subscription service, a very nominal, tiny little monthly fee, but you'll get a beautiful image with inspiration, an original inspiration from the universe, from Dear James, in your inbox each day. So it'll be a daily subscription type thing. And because it's just about sharing wellness and goodness and starting the day off on a good note and contemplative things to look at and think about, and coupled with a beautiful image. And then I do private consultations, which they can also do from DearJames.com, and group consultations and so forth like that. So, and if I may, one fascinating thing about group consultations, and it really affirms the life as a tapestry. You'll find that people come together and they'll say, why these 10 people, or these 12 or these 8 or whatever it is. And yet when the evening ends, everyone's like, I know you were talking to him or her, but that was, oh my God, da 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 da. So it's really beautiful that you see that it always happens for a reason. Everybody comes together for a reason.
So I just got the goosebumps, sorry, because I was just about to acknowledge you again for saying that when I read your work and I read what I love about it is that it is so specific to the person you're answering, but it is so, every single thing that every advice that I've read, I can connect to as well. And you write it and it comes through you in such a universal way where it makes us feel connected, whether I had a lost loved one at that moment or anything. So it's a beautiful gift that you've been given and that you use so well and you allow through you.
Thank you. I really do, because I connect with the person, and yet at the same time there's a message. And the funny thing is, whether I'm reading for someone, if the advice, whatever, we're always in reciprocity. So each time I do that, there's a message back, there's a gift back to me. And I feel like, the funny way is like that's payment to me. That's, you know what I'm saying? That
yeah.
It's reciprocal. It's always coming back. And so, but I'm glad that it resonates out that way.
It does. It does. And if you guys haven't checked out his blog and his column and his site, make sure you go see that. Make sure you check out his profile on the Wellness Universe. It has all of his links to everything that he's doing. Dear James, I'm grateful for you spending this time today with us. I'm grateful for the work you do in the world. I'm grateful for the opportunity you gave Anna and I in the Wellness Universe and being part of that launch, which we are 1,800 strong now. We were 500 then, and everybody's a vetted member. So if you've not been to the wellnessuniverse.com, make sure that you go there and join us either as a Woo friend or a Woo world changer. Everybody that has been vetted there is a wellness provider, is an authentic and genuine person like this lovely man next to me. And we would love to see you there. And any final words you want to say, James?
Well, actually, to you, Sherry, and to Anna, and to all of the Woo providers and everybody listening, but to all of you, the continuity and the integrity and the perseverance of what you all do, of what we all do. It's such a blessing. It's such a gift. It's such an honor and a privilege to be a part of the Wellness Universe with all of the other practitioners and everything, as I call them, these wellness providers. And, I guess the one thing I would say is just, against the backdrop of our world, spread light. We have a choice. We always have a choice. So do something from the littlest thing, smile at someone, hold a door open, just kind of keep letting that goodness, that ripple shine, and just keep connecting. And that final piece of whatever you were born to be, you already are. So you're not too late, you're not too early, you're right on time, it's yours, and just be it, shine.
Love that. Love that message and appreciate it. And thank you everybody for joining us on our first Woo Inspired Sessions. Be sure to join us next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, where I will be sharing the space with Powerhouse Lisa Menini. And check out the webinars at the lounge and just follow what Dear James has said. Be the light, be love, shine in your greatest selves, and just show up. Show up with goodness, with the goodness that's already in your heart. Thank you all so much for joining us today. So appreciate you and so appreciate all of you out there. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. See you soon.